I want to talk a little bit about my fitness journey in a way that can maybe help some people. In my senior year of high school, back in 2017, I was 135 pounds tops. Skinny guy. And for reference, I'm 5'10", which is average height. And I'd gotten a little bit into weightlifting, powerlifting via just classes, gym classes, extracurricular classes at my high school. And the progress was slow, and it was really, really slow initially because I wasn't eating the food at all. I would skip lunches to go smoke weed, and I wouldn't eat breakfast because I would show up late, so I'd miss the breakfast. And it was school lunches, like Michelle Obama school lunches, so you're not getting the calories, you're not getting the bulk. You're not going to become a horse eating high school lunch. So I got to college and I got the unlimited buffet pass. That was the move. That was what really started progressing me on my journey. And of course, when you come home over Christmas break, you can eat what you want. You have your parents' food, and you get your breakfast, you get your lunch, you get your dinner. So really, I started lifting Christmas break over my freshman year in college, and that's when things started to take off. I jumped right in. I jumped in with the starter strength routine. I had a black leather bound notebook, and I would write out my routines from starter strength, and I would follow them, and I would progress, and then I would make sure I would hit at least, like, not like the minimum protein macros, like a gram of protein per pound per day. I was getting like good meals, a lot of calories, which is important too, and that's something that you can also miss out on. It's not just protein, because the insulin response from eating carbs actually helps you build muscle too. It doesn't just store fat; it stores muscle. So that's when things started to take off, and I was basically in the gym 6 days a week for 6 weeks, and I was training karate at a dojo in my town for 4 days a week. So I was getting a lot of exercise, and you could say like, oh, you're overtraining, but I think you could watch Eric Bugenhagen's video on science-based training and whether or not training every day is useful. But in my case, it was very useful. And when I came back from Christmas break back to college, people noticed, like my dorm RAs were like, oh, you put on a lot of muscle, like I can tell. And that was just in 6 weeks. So if you've never lifted before, and maybe this is who I'm mainly targeting with the videos, and what I'm saying is, like, if you were in my position where you're 135 pounds, you're not this bulk monster, you're not even average for a high schooler, you're probably on like the unhealthy low end of the BMI scale, then I would say you're gonna see peak gains. You're gonna see peak gains. Like in the first 6 weeks, you'll notice like, oh, I put on some muscle. I put on some muscle. You're not gonna look in yourself in the mirror and be like, that's impressive, in the sense of like I look impressive, but you're gonna be like, that's impressive in the sense of, wow, like the change was a lot. You went from nothing to a significant addition, right? You've maybe added like half a centimeter in 6 weeks to like your arms and stuff like that. And that, I think that's the good starting position. That's where I started and began to go like, okay, now we're getting somewhere. There's a point to this, because I never really hit the gym. I never really exercised because I was like, the gains are so slow. I feel like when you train running, right? The next day you go run again. You're not even going to do better. You're going to do worse because you tire yourself out. So, and then after 2 weeks, like, oh, you added a little bit of miles per hour, or maybe your heart rate was a little bit lower on your similar level of effort. I was like, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. But after the 6 weeks of lifting, I was like, it's worth it. It's gonna be worth it. And maybe if you haven't started and you're like, oh, 6 weeks, like that's a month and a half. And I'm like, I'm telling you, think about, have you ever noticed 6 weeks go by? Like, sure, while you're living it, you're like, oh man, this seems like a long time. But like, think back, you're like, can I even remember? Can I even remember like every month and a half increment in my life? And even if you suffer, and I mean, like, if you go to the gym and you're like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I don't want to be here, this is pointless, this doesn't feel good, like every day, like it just hurts. It hurts when I lift, it hurts when I'm sore after, it hurts with the DOMs, it hurts, and you're just like, oh, I'm really suffering, I'm really miserable, like this isn't fun, like I don't see instant progress, I don't have the instant gratification that I get from scrolling Instagram or playing video games or smoking weed or stuff like that. But there's the thing about it, and the thing about it is you have a very limited memory for pain. If you get to the end of the 6 weeks and you look back, you'd be like, oh, that wasn't so, like, no matter how bad it was, oh, it wasn't so bad, oh, it, oh, like, I don't really remember, like, because you can't load like every single ounce of pain into your memory of an entire 6 week period and go like, oh, that really sucks. So like, the good thing to do is just abuse yourself, forget it, and then be like really happy at the end of it and be like, hey, this is worth it. And it's very motivating to go from there. So after that first 6 weeks, I started going to the college gym. And what I would do in the college gym was starter strength, and I kept my notebook for probably a good semester. It's the spring semester, and kept my starter strength, and I was like, okay, this is getting kind of boring and repetitive. I had some routine that I was doing where it's just like simple progressive overload, go in, do like 8x12 or 8 to 12, 3x8 to 12, standard stuff, triceps with the dumbbell, bench, squat. I didn't deadlift. I wasn't there. I would squat, I would bench. I didn't do overhead press. Maybe I did rows. So I did like curls, like dumbbell curls, tricep extensions with the dumbbell, bench. Maybe, I wasn't even messing with incline bench. Like it's just basic, right? Like starting basic. And here's the thing, like you think like, oh, basic, you're going to get less, but like you're going to get more. You're going to get more. You've never been in the gym before. You're going to get so much more. Like there are people out there right now who are legitimately thinking about like messing with their hormones and injecting these steroids that have like all these pretty terrible side effects, and they're going like, and they'll probably only get like maybe like 3/4 of like what you're gonna add from the beginning. Well, no, steroids, like you're gonna get more, but like anyway, like where they are right now without steroids, they're probably gonna be like, I would rather mess myself up to get like something that's comparable to like the initial gains, and take that with a grain of salt. But like the message is like the intermediate and advanced lifters would kill for the initial gains that you would get lifting. So after that first spring semester, anyway, I got kind of bored. I was like, okay, I'm doing this routine. Let's add stuff in. So in some ways, adding things in, you go like simpler if you move to things. I moved to 5x5 strong lifts on an app, and I feel like that was nicer than just tracking things in a notebook. Because it gives you the graph, and that always feels good. Like if you play video games, you like to see the numbers go up. You like to see the little chart of how you got better. And that's what you get with tracker apps, is they'll give you a very nice graph oftentimes of how you've increased over the weeks or the months. And you do increase. And it's quite impressive if you're dedicated to it and you hit your protein macros and you get good sleep and good hydration. All those things are very achievable. Very, very achievable. So that was that. And I got into the 5x5 strong lift. So that's where you're hitting overhead press, you're hitting deadlift, you're hitting row, you're hitting squat. I'm missing one. There's the big five: overhead press, squat, deadlift, bench, and row. That's all five. When you hit those and you're doing 5x5, that's more targeted at strength gains. So I'm not sure necessarily where like the beginner gains for me maybe started to peter out, but I noticed like I was going up on strength quite a bit, like a very good amount. Hitting the unlimited buffet at the college cafeteria, at the dining hall, and hitting those 5x5 strong lifts as much as possible. I was getting pretty good strength gains, and I could pull those up at some point, and maybe I'll add some asides. Maybe I'll add some screenshots if I could pull up the app, because it keeps all the data even back from like 2018, 2019 when I was doing that. And then I got dedicated to it. I was like, I need more. I need more. When I go to the gym, I want more. So I started doing more things. I started doing like crazy ab routines. I would go in and hit like a crazy ab routine. I was like, I want to get on a real program, not just 5x5 strong. So I want to get on like a real program. So I did some research and was like, I was a big like Reddit guy. Like, don't associate me as a Redditor. Like, I don't post there. I lurk for information, which is pretty much like all the goodness you're going to get off of Reddit. But I found, and you will find good things on there, good programs. And one of the ones that Reddit likes to tote a lot is NSUNS. And if you want to see NSUNS, it's N-SUNS. You can look it up on Reddit if you want. And it's a really good program. And it's actually one that I followed more recently. Started doing it again back in November. But for a few years, I was doing NSUNS. And that's essentially high volume, where you're doing pretty heavy weight. It's recalculating your 1 rep max, and you're working at like 85-95% of your 1 rep max for your working sets, and you're doing a lot of sets too. Like, I'm serious, like a lot, like 8 to 9, and that's a good amount of sets to do. Especially when initially you could get away with 2 or 3, or even if like you're advanced, you could still get away with 2 or 3 and see results. But yeah, I got on the NSUNS program, and oddly enough, it wasn't really progressing me, and it wasn't really progressing me that much. And I think maybe the reason for that was the nutrition. It was the macros. Like I said, I hit the unlimited buffet, but not a huge appetite guy. Like, I go and I eat. I kind of feel full without like a whole lot of food. I don't eat super often too, which is the other thing. It's like, I hate to be the guy, like I said, you could watch Eric Bugenhagen's video on like science-based lifting, but there is sort of a science that I do believe in. That's like, you can only absorb an effective amount of protein, like in a certain extended period of time. And that means like, ideally you want to break up your protein intake like throughout the day, like every 2 hours, you get like the most protein that you could digest. That'll go to like muscle building instead of just being broken down for energy. But I wasn't doing that. Like I said, it was like I eat a couple meals, 2 or 3 meals, maybe breakfast, doing things that like burn fat too. A lot of that, like a lot of walking, like in campus, I would get 20,000 steps a day, easy, walking all over campus to like get to my classes and stuff. And like that's going to put a lot of caloric load on you, where if you're hitting your protein, you're still going to have like a little bit of trouble because you're burning a lot of that protein for energy, to supplement your calories if you're not like eating like a lot of meals or eating frequently. But I was still seeing progress. I'm not going to say like, oh, NSUNS wasn't helpful. I was seeing progress, and it's good progress. You know, it's motivational, right? But I'll throw some pictures. So like where I was initially in high school, very skinny, 130 pounds, 135 pounds tops. Not super fat at all, not super muscular, just very skinny guy. And then starting lifting in college, like I can show you some photos from college. And you start to see like there's progress, and it's noticeable progress. And I could only ever say it was a good, clean bulk, up until COVID happened. And COVID, I kind of lost my motivation to go to the gym, not out of like fear of getting sick, but I was kind of bored and feeling a little bit monotonous in my life. So I started smoking a lot of weed, and then I'm like, high all day, and I'm like, dude, I don't really want to go to the gym. I just kind of want to like chill out in my room and play video games a little bit. So I stopped lifting as much. And I started eating more and eating more and eating more, right? And then it's like you get out of COVID and you have this mindset of like, I'm not in the lifting routine. I like to eat. I like to hit, DoorDash, Uber Eats, and a little bit, right, in college, because you don't have that much money. But then I graduated and I got a job, and it was just like, I'm focusing on my work, working as much as I can. And when you get done from work, it's your first full-time job, you're like, no, I don't want to go to the gym, and you got real money, and you're like, oh, I could get like whatever food I don't have a car, so it's like, I want to hit a restaurant, because I got the money for it, but like, I'm just going to Uber Eats, I'm just going to DoorDash, and I put on a lot of weight. I think right around COVID, I was maybe 165 pounds, and summer of last year, I was 227. So let me think about that. That's about 60 pounds, and it was not muscle. It was fat. It was all fat, pretty bad. And the thing is like when you lose the routine, and you don't ever like check yourself, and you don't ever think, basically you're back to where you were at the beginning. Like, it's just not in your mind, it's not in your head, it's not in your life. But I hit a point where I was like looking in the mirror, and I'm like, this has to stop. This has to turn around. And I went on a vacation with a person who was morbidly obese, and I kind of was looking at them, and I was like, they're having trouble walking and doing the hikes. They're tripping and falling on stairs and stuff, and they've got knee braces and hiking poles, and it's like they never once go like, when they fall, like, oh, I need to change my lifestyle and like lose some weight so that I can actually support my body mass. They're just like, oh, these fucking stairs, or oh, I should have worn a better knee brace. It's like, I was like, oh, this mindset, and then you see it in yourself, and it's like this honest, stark analysis of like this dark path that you could be going down. And I was like, no, all right, done. Second I got back from vacation, I got a gym membership. I got a real gym membership to a Olympic weightlifting gym. And I'm more of a power lifter. Like, I'm not gonna do like jerk and clean and jerk and that kind of stuff, snatch and whatnot. That's not like, it's something that I've tried before. It's not something I'm like super interested in, because I like the more like bodybuilder, I mean, you can get a lot of strength and a lot of power from that and a lot of muscle mass too, but I feel like the more direct gains are going to come from just traditional bodybuilding powerlifting routines, just flat bench, incline bench, that kind of stuff, deadlift. But there are some guys that are far more jacked than I am. I'm sure you know Clarence Kennedy, huge Olympic weightlifter. So what I would really like to say is I'm back on that journey and I'm here now, and I've been in the gym since November 2024, very frequently. And then I got to about May and I was like, it's time to just cut. It's time to cut all this weight. It's time to go all the way down. I think I was like 230 in May. This morning I was 209, so I'm down 20 pounds. All right, and that's good. That's good. It's the end of July here. I just turned 26. I'm feeling better. I'm looking better. I can show that too. When I was looking like in December versus now, you can see it. And I feel like I could speak to maybe not just the skinny guys, but the big guys too, because you probably don't have that much muscle. Unless you trained it, you might look big, but you don't have that much muscle. I mean, even in me, you could kind of see like there was some development there, even when I'm 230 pounds. Like you can kind of see it in the shoulders and the arms where you don't store as much fat. But like I was saying at the beginning, the beginner gains where you notice like very quickly over the time period of 6 weeks of just dedication, you put on a lot of mass. In a few months of just dedication to cutting fat and cutting weight, you notice it too, and you notice it very quickly. It's also equally rewarding. It's equally rewarding. I feel like if you look at yourself in the mirror and maybe you're not impressed with what you see, but you're impressed with the change you see, that's very motivating. That's very motivating. And someday, eventually, you will be impressed with what you see in the mirror. Do I have a goal? No, I don't really have a goal. I don't know why you would need a goal. Like, there's nothing you really want to look like eventually, but that's kind of, not as important as just, feeling good about yourself. And maybe that's the goal. I just want to look in the mirror and feel good about myself. So, if I could say like a few things on just like where I've been and where I want to go, I would say I started at the bottom. I progressed a good ways. I started going in the wrong direction of mass gain, and now I'm rebalancing and heading in the right direction. So I'm going to continue on with that. And if you haven't started, if you're an incredibly small guy, or if you're an incredibly big guy, but not big in the way you'd like to be, then maybe you can learn something here if I just post a little bit about diet, and I post a little bit about exercise routines. And I think there'll be something for everyone, no matter where you are. And hopefully this has been motivational. Hopefully this has been a little thought provoking. I haven't been too antagonistic, and I feel like I'm not here to like be a personal coach where I need to like put some pain around your comfort zone and then like show you this light. I really am just gonna try to like show you the light, because I'm sure you have enough pain around your comfort zone. Like you look in the mirror, there's probably some pain you feel there. So I don't really need to like press on that too much, but I will say that like you can look at where I've been at the bottom. You can see where I've been at another low, even after I've gained some muscle, where I've just gotten really fat and kind of obese, and now I'm headed back in the right direction. So I'll end it here, and That's all I have to say.